Hello, world, and to the kingdom citizens. I greet you in the precious holy name of Yeshua Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, who said in his word in John 8:32, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Hi, I'm Dr. John Curry, Ambassador, and welcome to the embassy of the kingdom of heaven on earth. If you want to follow this podcast, please subscribe to JC Global Embassy TV1. Ring the bell and hit the thumbs up button. Today's message is entitled Margaret Sanger and the Kissinger Report of 1974. Again, Margaret Sanger and the Kissinger Report from 1974. And I want to open up with something that maybe some of you know and maybe some of you don't know. It was in 1983, a minister by the name of Jesse Peters was the first black minister to be licensed by the slave masters. He was licensed by the slave masters, and his job was to control the slaves. Now, let me say that again. The first black licensed minister was licensed in 1783. His name was Jesse Peters. He was licensed as a minister to control the black slaves by using Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5, and many other scriptures that was being used at that time. The purpose of that was to control the slaves, to get the slaves to be able to follow every word that the white masters, the slave masters, wanted the slaves to follow. Now, if we take that and then we go to a lady by the name of Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger supposedly to protect America's blood from being tainted. Her job was to protect America's blood from being tainted. With racial inferiority, she did not want America's blood. And when we say America's blood, we're talking about so-called pure white people. She didn't want that blood to be tainted with racial inferiority. Therefore, this eugenist, Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood, wanted to exterminate the Negro population through sterilization. She wanted to exterminate, that means wipe out, get rid of, the Negro population through extermination. Now, for those of you that may have not ever seen Margaret Sanger or exactly know who she is, well, this is who she is, Margaret Sanger. Her ultimate goal was to wipe out black people through sterilization. And here she is with these gentlemen here, and that is Margaret Sanger in the midst of Charles Darwin and also Adolf Hitler. Margaret Sanger in the midst of Charles Darwin and Adolf Hitler. And we know that Hitler was a eugenicist and Charles Darwin was a eugenicist as well. But here's another gentleman by the name of Kissinger, Henry Kissinger. 1974, he did a report, but here's a photo of him in 1973, Henry Kissinger. Now, along with Henry Kissinger, I just want to show you one more of Margaret Sanger. And here she is talking to the women, the gals of the Ku Klux Klan. And she's pushing very hard to be able to get sterilization for black people. Now, the reason why I bring this up and wanted to show it to you is because the eugenics movement and Margaret Sanger and many others, along with the Kissinger report that I'm going to share with you in a minute, was doing everything they can in order to get black ministers to go along with the program as far as getting black females to exterminate or become sterilized so they wouldn't have children. And the sole purpose of that was to annihilate a race, or to get that race to the point where they wouldn't have to worry about them with the dominant gene. Remember, this is all about the dominant gene, and blacks carry the dominant gene, simply meaning that whatever we touch becomes black. So it's a kind of population control with Margaret Sanger. And she went all over the place. She made some appearance at different churches, talking to some of the most charismatic type of ministers and tried to get them to buy in. Some bought in, some didn't. And basically trying to offer them different types of monies and things of that nature, because she knew that black preachers had a hold on the constituents, the congregants that was at the church. So they spent a lot of time, spent a lot of money trying to get black pastors, black ministers to believe that instead of having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 children, that they need to be focused on 1 or 2. And if they got 1 or 2 children, they're doing good, and the preachers will get an extra donation. So the whole plan was using black pastors, black ministers, in order to reduce the black population rate. So they was hitting us with sterilization and killing like they're doing now. They're putting guns in black neighborhoods. They're putting drugs in black neighborhoods. Everything a black man wants to kill each other, they make sure that it's in our neighborhood. The question is, how are these black boys and men getting guns? Well, they're dropping them off. They're dropping them off to gangs. They're dropping them off in different places in black neighborhoods. We don't have a manufacturer that makes guns for black people in black neighborhoods. Most of black people are afraid to go and get their Ford card in order to be able to shoot at a range. So how are they getting all these weapons? How are black people killing each other every day, and where are they getting the guns? I'm here to tell you that they're being brought to those areas for them to take those guns as they continually to create situations where blacks can continually kill each other, along with sterilization. Now, it's important for you to know that there's a serious move in order to wipe us out. Now, as blacks, we should not be helping any group to wipe us out, but that's what they're intended to do. They want to wipe us out, wipe us off the planet so they can take our identity. It's called social and scientific and rewrite political identity theft. They're doing everything they can to get us out the way so they can't claim us while us being present. So it's a very, very serious thing. So I just wanted you to know that. I wanted you to know who Margaret Sanger is. She's the founder of Planned Parenthood, and she was a eugenicist. She was with the Ku Klux Klan in order to help them sterilize black folks as well as kill black folks. So the whole thing has been set up to wipe black people out. I want you to understand that. The whole thing is set up to wipe us out. Now, we shouldn't be giving them opportunities to wipe us out, because we should be showing more love for ourselves, policing ourselves, and making sure that we're not killing ourselves in order to make these so-called racist white people, these eugenicists, happy. Now, in the Kissinger report, this report was done in 1974, the Kissinger report. And what's amazing about this report, in short, this report, it was aimed to do this. It was aimed to reduce the African population through abortion and through contraception between 1999 and really all the way up to now, to reduce the African population. But that's not happening, because the African population right now is 1.4 billion. You see what they mean for bad. God just continually to bless us, because you can't stop what God is doing, okay? So they're trying to wipe us out, but the African population, as I said, is 1.4 billion. And guess what? The ages are young. Their ranges all the way up from birth to 30 years old. So it's a young population, ready and willing to do the kingdom work, no matter what Henry Kissinger and Margaret Sanger have been trying to do, and many others are trying to do, all over the diaspora, as well as in China. Every place is trying to wipe Africa out so they don't have to be worrying about the Africans doing what we've done back in antiquity, and that's basically taking over the world. The United States and Canada and Europe have invested $6 billion of control for population in Africa. Let me say it again. The United States, along with Canada and Europe, have invested $6 billion to control black population in Africa and throughout the diaspora. Now, you know the diaspora is any place other than where you originated from. So any place outside of the Africa, wherever there are black people are, we're considered the diaspora. So they're trying to control birth rate of black people all over the world. The United States and the European nations have made a decision never to help the continent of Africa. That's what they made, never to help the continent of Africa. So those Africans and we being Africans in the diaspora, we must understand that no one is coming to help us. We must manage our affairs, love ourselves, love our children, and make sure that we're protecting ourselves so that we won't get wiped out by these fearful Europeans that are afraid of the dominant gene. So if you really want to know what's going on, it's all about the gene. It's about biology and genetics. That's the war that's not being talked about. Biology and genetics. And he who has the dominant gene will always win. So they're trying to wipe us out. So they made a decision never to help the continent of Africa. Well, how would they help us? Such as building schools and purifying waters and much, much more. You see, they could help Africa if they want, but they don't want to help Africa because Africa is a land of riches and all kinds of riches and resources. So they figure if they wipe us out, they can go and possess the land, like what China is trying to do right now. They can go possess our land and build more great nations for themselves. But it's not going to happen because Africa is rising. You see, it was also said by Americans, never help Africa because the rest of the world needs her natural resources for economic gain. So if you help Africa to come to herself and to move in the situation she needs to move in and be a dominant global threat to the world, the whole world would just dry up. If Africa went on strike right now and said, we're not giving out any more gold, any more oil, anything like that, America wouldn't exist. China wouldn't exist. Russia wouldn't exist. Asia wouldn't exist. None of those countries wouldn't exist. So the only thing that's stopping them from being more what they want to be is black Africans. And that's why they're trying to sterilize us. That's why they're trying to get us to kill ourselves. That's why they move tribe against tribe. They try to make sure that we're in warfare so that we end up doing it to ourselves. And then later they want to come over and pretend like they're rescuing us while at the same time creating mess for us. So that's what's going on right now. China is trying to create a black China in Africa. Let me say that again. China is trying to create a black China in Africa by buying the land and trying to force their way in Africa. Now understand this. China goes over to Africa, set up a restaurant, and then discriminate against the Africans when they come in. That's crazy, but that's what they're doing. There are many places that are going to Africa and treating them like stepchildren, not knowing that they're kings and queens and rulers of the world, that they just haven't been recognized for what they have. But to my black brothers and sisters, the Africans are waking up. They now know it's time to rise. They now understand that no other group is going to help them but them. And they've made it up in their mind that they're going to begin to step up and do what they need to do. So that's what this video is about. Is to be able to get you to understand that Margaret Sanger and Henry Kissinger in this report was doing everything they can to kill black babies. And they're still doing it. The difference is now, not only are they using sterilization, but they're using germs and guns, diseases, in order to try to wipe us out. But we already know that if God be for you, who can be against you? Thank you for watching. Look forward to talking to you next time.